Oh, hey, hi there. How are you? I didn't see you there when I first came in. How are you? Are you good? You look good. Are you eating? You look skinny. Maybe you need to eat a little bit more. No? Oh, oh. You say you've actually put on a few pounds. Well, I couldn't tell. No, you look great. And I'm so glad that you've decided to join me today. That's right. I'm Michael Rubenfeld. I am a Jew from Canada who's moved to Poland. This is my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about my perspective about Poland through a Jewish lens. That's why you're here. If you've never been here before, I hope you stick around. But at this point, you might have already left because I've just been talking mumbo jumbo for the last couple of minutes. But I hope to find a way to make an easy transition into what this video is about, which is about the Jewish community of Poland. Now, I'm not talking about the Jewish community before the war. I'm not talking about the Jewish community after the war. I'm not even talking about the Jewish community after 1968. I'm especially not talking about the Jewish community in 1989, 1990 after communism. I am talking about the Jewish community that lives here in Poland right now, 2023. So, some of you probably know already that there is a Jewish community in Poland, and some of you don't really know much about it. So, the Jewish community in Poland is complicated. And believe it or not, Poland has a growing Jewish community. I say believe it or not because in much of Europe, the Jewish community is getting smaller, but in Poland, it's getting larger. Now, you might be wondering who is the Jewish community? Well, it's a good question because a lot of the Jewish community left Poland in 56, 57, and then again in 68 up until 71, 72. And there were not that many who stayed in Poland. However, after communism, once it stopped being so problematic being Jewish, people started discovering that they actually had Jewish roots. Now, the majority of these people are people who grew up as Catholics. They were baptized, they believed that they were just Catholic, and they had really no idea that they had any Jewish roots. They only started to learn about their Jewish roots, in many cases, when they had a relative on their deathbed who decided to share with the rest of their family that actually they had Jewish roots. And of course, there are many other ways that people revealed their family's Jewishness to their families. There are more Jews in Poland who discovered that they were Jewish later in life than people who have always been raised or practicing as a Jew. Now, in order for someone in Poland to have been raised Jewish, say during the communist period and into the post communist period, they would have had to have come from a Jewish family who made the decision to stay in Poland after 1968. And those families were few and far between. Of course, there were a lot of people with Jewish roots who did stay in Poland, but they weren't out or even practicing Jews. They might have had Jewish roots, but they did not live their life as Jews, nor did their children or grandchildren. So, what started to happen is as people started to reveal their family's Jewish roots to their families, in many of those cases, people made the decision to embrace their Jewish identities and start living their lives as Jews. And there are far more than just a few of these cases. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of these cases. And there are more of these cases happening on a day to day basis. I hear all the time from people that they think they might have Jewish roots, etc., etc. And so when people say, how many Jews are there in Poland right now? It's impossible to say because there are as few as, say, 10,000, but there are as many as 100,000. It's hard to say. That's who the Jews are. Believe it or not, there are very few people like me who are Jews from North America who have made the decision to move back to Poland, where their family's roots are. There are some, uh, probably more from Israel than North America, who live in Poland, probably because it's closer, but the majority of Poland's Jews are Polish people raised in Poland. Every major city has Jewish community, and I'll be honest, I am not familiar with all of the Jewish communities, but I know that there's Jewish community in Gdansk. I know that there's Jewish community in Łódź. I know that there's Jewish community in Poznan. I know that there's Jewish community, of course, in Krakow, where I live, and the largest Jewish community is in Warsaw in Warszawa. There's also Jewish community in Wrocław. Let's talk a little bit more about the psychology of Jewish community in Poland, because I think for me this is the most interesting, particularly as a North American. So Jews in Poland, to me, look nothing like the Jews that I'm used to. And I'm not talking about their appearances. Now, here's the thing. Most Jews in the world, you wouldn't know they're Jewish. Because most Jews in the world are not Orthodox. Most of them don't wear hats and black suits and have payas, etc., etc. Most Jews just dress like commoners and blend in. I mean, it depends on what you think. If you think that this face looks Jewish, then maybe I don't blend in as much. Some people think I look Jewish. I don't know. What do you think? Do I look Jewish? The point is that when I say that Judaism in Poland looks different than what I'm used to, it connects back to the fact that most people here didn't grow up as Jews. So I come from a world. I come from North America, and the Jews there have always known that they're Jewish. Although my grandparents were survivors, they never lost their Jewishness. We all lost our Polishness. But the Jews of Poland kept their Polishness, but most of them lost their Jewishness. So when I meet a Jew in Poland, they don't necessarily feel Jewish to me, which I know is a weird thing to say, but there's a feeling you get when you meet other Jews that I don't get here when I meet Polish people. That's not a good or a bad thing. It's just different. I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of the Jews here grew up as Catholics. They were not necessarily born Jewish. And if they were born Jewish or raised in a Jewish family, they likely wouldn't have been religious because a lot of the Jews who stayed after 1968 weren't religious Jews. They were probably atheists. Of course, Chabad, the ultra Orthodox, are the ultra Orthodox everywhere in the world. No matter where you go, you can go to China, you can go to Hawaii, you can go to Poland. Chabad is Chabad is Chabad. But I am just talking about the non Orthodox Jews because those are my people. So the other thing that's interesting and tricky is that a lot of people who were raised Jewish here, who are, say, my generation or older, were not raised to embrace their Jewishness because of the amount of fear that continued and still, to an extent, continues to exist in Polish society around identifying as a Jew. So I have friends who were raised to be ashamed of their Jewishness, who were raised to not be very loud about their Jewishness. Don't let people know that you're Jewish because you never know what's going to happen. So there's a lot of fear and shame internalized by Jewish people that say might have grown up still during the communist era and post-communist era. So I'm talking kind of like 40 plus. The younger generation is very different. The younger generation are being raised in a post-communist era where they're surrounded by Jews their age who are happy to be Jewish, maybe prouder to be Jewish, freer to be Jewish, less fear. There are places like the Warsaw Jewish Community Center, the Krakow Jewish Community Center. These are Jewish centers that are not based in religion, but they're based around the idea of growing and tightening Jewish community. Jewish community centers exist all over the world, and they're very important in helping to form and structure Jewish community in, say, a more secular, inclusive space. And that's a lot of talking about the Jews of Poland. I'm sure I missed a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm sure that there are people who are going to say, you missed a whole bunch of stuff, and they're gonna tippy on my YouTube, and I welcome it. I love it. I love how many people like to respond and correct and this and this and this and this. I am a Jew. I am from Canada. I do live in Poland. This is my channel. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, click the like. If you like it, really like it, and you've not, subscribe. What are you waiting for? It's fun, it's interesting. Not too heavy, not too dark, not too silly, but it's a little bit silly. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I try and post 2 to 3 longer videos during the week, and I like to do little short videos as well. Anyways, that's me. I'm Michael. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with me today. I hope this was informative. And, comment. Let me know what you think, because I read all of the comments. Goodbye!